My father grabbed the microphone, not during prayer, not during announcements, during the sermon, and then he said my name, out loud, in front of 1,900 people. He looked straight at me, front row, seat B7, and said, "Some of you are wondering why my daughter has chosen to marry a man already bound to another life, a widower with a child." The room shifted. You could feel it. Then he said something I will never forget. "She is choosing baggage over blessing." And that wasn't even the worst part, because what happened 2 months later on my wedding day ended up being seen by over 11 million people. And it started with a sign. A small, handmade sign held by a 7-year-old girl. But before I tell you what that sign said, comment below. Would you forgive your parents if they did this to you? Because I didn't think I ever could. My name is Eliza Warren. I'm 31 years old, and this is how everything fell apart and somehow came back together in a way no one expected. I grew up inside a system. Not just a family. A system. My father wasn't just a pastor. He was the pastor. Senior leader of Covenant Light Church in Dallas, Texas. 1,900 members. 3 services. Weekly live stream. We didn't just attend church. We were the church. Front row every Sunday. Perfect outfits. Perfect posture. Perfect answers. My mother used to adjust my collar before service and whisper, "People are always watching us." I was 9 the first time she said that. By 13, I understood exactly what she meant. We weren't allowed to be messy. We weren't allowed to struggle publicly. We definitely weren't allowed to make choices that didn't align, especially when it came to relationships. There were rules, unwritten, but enforced. No dating outside the church. No complicated people. No pasts that didn't look clean on paper. My father called it protecting the testimony. I didn't question it. Not until I met him. It was October 2023, 7:12 p.m. A school fundraiser I almost didn't attend. I worked as a speech therapist at a local elementary school. Nothing glamorous, nothing platform-worthy. Just real work with real kids. That night was a literacy event. Parents, teachers, kids everywhere. That's when I saw her first. Little girl, red sweater, sitting cross-legged on the floor, reading out loud to a group of kids like she owned the room. Confident, clear, happy, and behind her, him, arms folded, watching quietly, not interrupting, just present. Later, I saw him wiping down tables after everyone left. No one asked him to. He just stayed. I walked over and said, "You don't have to do that." He smiled. "I know." That was my first conversation with Daniel Hayes. He was 35, high school science teacher, and a widower. His wife had died 3 years earlier. Car accident. Late night. Rain. He told me that part simply. No drama. No performance. Just truth. He had a daughter. Her name was Lily, 7 years old, the girl in the red sweater. But here's what stayed with me. Not the tragedy, not the label, the way he loved her. He braided her hair. Every morning. Not perfectly. Sometimes uneven. But he tried. He packed her lunches. Wrote little notes inside. "Have the best day ever. You're braver than you think." He showed up. Every single day. No applause, no audience. Just consistency. And that's when something started to shift in me, because I grew up hearing about love, but I had never really seen it like that. We started slowly. Coffee, conversations, walks after school. He never rushed anything. He never tried to impress me. And Lily, she called me Miss Eliza at first. Then one day, 3 months in, she asked, "Do you think my mom would like you?" That question broke something open in me. I said, "I hope so." She nodded. "I think she would." By March 2024, I knew. This wasn't complicated. This was real. But my family? They saw it differently. And the first red flag came at dinner. My father put his fork down and asked, "So, he has a child?" I said yes. My mother added, "And a past." Not a question. A statement. And then came the line that should have told me everything. "You're stepping into something that isn't yours." I remember sitting there, realizing they didn't see love. They saw liability. But that wasn't even the worst part. Because what they did next, they didn't just say it in private, they said it in front of everyone. And that's where everything changed. They didn't pull me aside. They didn't ask me to reconsider privately. They waited until Sunday, April 14th, 2024, second service, 11:30 a.m. Sanctuary full, cameras rolling. I knew something was off the moment my father skipped 2 pages of his notes. He never did that. Never. Then he paused, looked up, and said, "Today, I want to talk about unequally yoked decisions." My stomach dropped, because I knew. And then he said it. "My own daughter is currently choosing a path I cannot endorse." You could hear people shifting in their seats, whispers, eyes turning, looking at me, front row, exactly where we always sat, he continued. "She is choosing to attach herself to a man who carries emotional and spiritual baggage, a previous covenant, and a child from another life." Another life. That's how he described Lily, a 7-year-old girl, the same girl who read books out loud and wrote her dad notes. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. And then he looked directly at me and said, "Eliza, I love you, but I will not stand beside a decision that compromises everything we've built." Everything we've built. Like my life was a brand. Like my future was a PR strategy. And my mother? She sat beside him, nodding, smiling politely, as if this was just truth being spoken. I didn't cry. Not there. I stood up, walked out, and behind me, 1,900 people sat in silence. But that wasn't even the worst part, because after that sermon, things didn't calm down. They escalated. My phone exploded. Messages, calls, texts, some supportive, most curious. "Is it true? Did your dad really say that? Are you still going through with the wedding?" Like it was entertainment. Like I was a storyline. That night, my mother called. I answered. She didn't apologize. She said, "We had to address it before rumors spread." Before rumors spread. I laughed. Actually laughed. "You created the rumors." Silence. Then she said something that still echoes in my head. "We're trying to protect you from a mistake." A mistake. That's what they called Daniel. That's what they called Lily. That's when something in me shifted. Not anger. Clarity. 2 weeks later, Daniel proposed, May 2nd, 2024, 6:41 p.m., at the same park where I first met Lily. He didn't make a speech, didn't kneel dramatically. He just looked at me and said, "I don't have a perfect life to offer you, but I will show up for you every day, and so will she." Lily stepped forward, holding a small folded paper. She handed it to me. Inside it said, "Will you be my family too?" I didn't hesitate. I said yes. I called my parents that night. I don't know why. Maybe hope. Maybe habit. My father answered. I told him. There was a pause. Then he said, "You're making this harder than it needs to be." Harder. Like love was the problem. My mother got on the line. "Eliza, think about your future. Think about what people will say." I closed my eyes. I am thinking about my future. That's why I'm saying yes. And then came the line that ended everything. "If you go through with this, we won't be there." No hesitation, no emotion, just a decision. I whispered, "Okay," and hung up. But here's what they didn't expect. I didn't beg. I didn't delay. I didn't change anything. I moved forward. We planned a small wedding, September 21st, 2024. Backyard venue, 70 guests. Nothing extravagant. No stage. No spotlight. Just people who actually wanted to be there. Daniel's colleagues helped set up chairs. Lily's teacher baked cupcakes. My best friend handled music with a playlist and a borrowed speaker. It wasn't perfect. It was real. And then, 2 weeks before the wedding, Lily came to me with an idea. I want to walk down the aisle with something. I smiled. Like flowers? She shook her head. A sign. I froze, because something about the way she said it felt important. What do you want it to say? She shrugged. I'm still thinking. And then she added, it has to be true. For the next 10 days, she worked on it. Quietly. Secretly. Even Daniel didn't know what it said. She kept it rolled up in her backpack, tied with a purple ribbon, her favorite color. September 21st, 2024, 4:02 p.m. Ceremony starts. Golden light. Warm air. Everything. Calm. I stood at the end of the aisle, heart pounding, hands shaking, looking at 70 faces, all people who chose us, and 2 empty chairs in the front row, reserved, untouched. Music started. Bridesmaids walked. Then it was Lily's turn. She stepped forward. White dress, purple sash, and that rolled-up sign in her hands. The officiant smiled. And now, someone very special. Lily walked slowly, carefully. Halfway down the aisle, she stopped, and my heart dropped. Because this wasn't rehearsed. She untied the ribbon, unrolled the sign, turned it around, and held it up. What she wrote silenced the entire wedding, and what happened next, no one could have predicted.